everyone, I am today going to be reading Horton Hears Who, one of my favorite Dr. Seuss books. Are you ready? Okay, let's go. On the 15th of May, in the jungle of Newell, in the heat of the day, in the cool of the pool, he was splashing, enjoying the jungle's great joys, when Horton, the elephant, heard a small noise. So Horton stopped splashing. He looked towards the sound. That's funny, thought Horton. There's no one around. Then he heard it again. Just a faint yelp, as if some tiny person were calling for help. I'll help you, said Horton. But who are you? Where? He looked and he looked, but he could see nothing there, but a small speck of dust just blowing past the air. I say, mumbled Horton, I've never heard tell of a small speck of dust that was able to yell. So you know what I think? Why, I think there must be someone on top of that small speck of dust. Some sort of a creature very small in size, too small to be seen by an elephant's eyes. Some poor little person who's shaking with fear that he'll be blown into the pool. He has no way to steer. I'll have to save him because, after all, a person's a person no matter how small. So gently, and using the greatest of care, the elephant stretched his great trunk through the air and lifted this small speck of dust and carried it over and placed it down safe on a very soft clover. Humph! Humphed a voice. 'Twas the sour kangaroo, and a young kangaroo in her pouch humphed, too. Why, that speck is as small as the head of a pin. A person on that? Why, there's never been. Believe me, said Horton, I tell you sincerely, my ears are quite keen and I heard them quite clearly. I know there's a person down there, and what's more, quite likely there's two, even three, even four, quite likely a family. For all we know, a family with children who are just starting to grow. So please, said Horton, as a favor to me, try not to disturb them and just let them be. I think you're a fool, laughed the sour kangaroo, and the young kangaroo in her pouch said, Me too! You're the biggest blamed fool of the jungle of Newell! And the kangaroos plunged into the cool of the pool. What terrible splashing, the elephant frowned. I can't let my very small persons get drowned. I've got to protect them. I'm bigger than they. So he plucked up the clover and hustled away. Through the high jungle treetops, the news spread quickly. He talks to a speck of dust. He's out of his head. Just look at him walk through that speck of flour. And Horton walked, worrying, for almost an hour. Should I put the speck down here? Horton thought, with alarm. If I do, these small persons may come to great harm. I can't put them down, and I won't. After all, a person's a person, no matter how small. Then Horton stopped walking. The speck voice was talking. The voice was so faint, he could barely hear it. Speak up, please, said Horton, and he put his ear near it. My friend, came a voice. You're a very fine friend. You've helped all of us folks on this speck of dust to no end. You've all saved all of our houses, our ceilings, and our floors. You've saved our churches and grocery stores. You mean, Horton gasped, you have buildings there too? Oh, yes, piped the voice. We most certainly do. I know, called the voice. I am too small to be seen, but I am a mayor of a town that is friendly and clean. Our buildings, to you, would seem terribly small, but to us they aren't. Who aren't big, they're wonderfully small. Horton called back to the mayor of the town, "You're safe now, don't worry, I won't let you down." But just as the speck spoke to the mayor, 3 big jungle monkeys climbed up on Horton's neck. The Wickersham brothers. They came shouting, "What rot! This elephant's talking to who's who are not. There aren't who's, and they don't have a mayor, and we're going to stop all that nonsense. So there." They snatched Horton's clover. They carried it off to a black-bottomed eagle named Vladikoff, a mighty strong eagle of very swift wing, and they said, "Will you kindly get rid of this thing?" And before the poor elephant could even speak, the eagle flew off with the flower in its beak. All that late afternoon and far into the night, that black-bottomed eagle flapped his wings in fast flight, while Horton chased after with groans over stones that tattered his toenails and battered his bones, and begged, "Please don't harm my very small folks, who have just as much right to live as these bigger folks do." But far, far beyond him, that eagle kept flapping, and over his shoulder he said, "Quit your yapping. I'll fly that night through. I'm a bird, I don't mind it, and I'll hide this tomorrow where you'll never find it." And at 6:56 the next morning he did. It was a sure awful place where he hid it. He let that small clover drop somewhere inside of a great patch of clovers 100 miles wide. "Find that," sneered the bird, "but I think you will fail." And he left with a flip of his black-bottomed tail. "Well, I'll find it," cried Horton. "I'll find it or bust. I shall find my friends on the small speck of dust." And clover by clover by clover with care, he picked up and searched them and called, "Are you there?" But clover by clover by clover he found. That one that he sought was just not around. And by noon, poor Horton, more dead than alive, he picked, searched, and piled up 9,005. Then, on through the afternoon, hour after hour, till he found them at last, on the 3,000,000th flower. "My friends," cried the elephant, "tell me, do tell, are you safe, are you sound, are you whole, are you well?" From down on the speck came the voice of the mayor. "We've really had trouble, much more than our share. When that black-bottomed birdie let us go and we dropped and we landed so hard that our clocks have all stopped. Our teapots are broken, our rocking chairs are smashed, and our bicycle tires blew up when we crashed. So Horton, please," begged the voice of the mayor, "will you stick by us who's while we make repairs?" "Of course," Horton answered. "Of course I'll stick. I'll stick to you through thin and through thick." "Humph," humphed a voice. "For almost 2 days you've run wild and insisted on chatting with persons who've never existed. Such carryings on in our peaceful jungle. We've had quite enough of your bellowing bumble, and I'm here to state," snapped the big kangaroo, "that your silly, nonsensical game is all through." And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, "Me too." With the help of the Wickersham brothers and dozens of Wickersham uncles and Wickersham cousins and Wickersham in-laws whose help I've engaged, you're going to be roped and you're going to be caged. And as for that dust speck, that we shall throw into a steaming kettle of bezelnut oil." "Boil it?" gasped Horton. "Oh, you can't do that. That's full of persons and they'll prove it to you." "Mr. Mayor, called Horton. "Mr. Mayor, you've got to prove now that you really are there. So call a big meeting, get everyone out, make every who holler, make every who shout, make every who scream. If you don't, every who is going to end up in bezelnut stew." And down on the dustback, the scared little mayor quick called a big meeting in all the Who's town squares. His people cried loudly and cried out up here, "We're here, we're here, we're here, we're here." The elephant smiled. "That was clear as a bell. You kangaroos surely heard that as well." "All I heard," snapped the big kangaroo, "was a breeze and a faint sound of the wind through the far distant trees. I hear no small voices, and neither do you." And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, "Me neither." "Grab him!" they shouted. "And cage up the big dope, lasso his stomach with 10 miles of rope, tie the knots tight so he'll never shake loose, then dunk that dumb speck into the beetle nut juice." Horton fought back with great vigor and vim, but the Wickersham gang was too many for him. They beat him, they mauled him, they hauled him into a cage, but he managed to call out to the mayor, "Don't give up! I believe in you all! A person's a person, no matter how small, and you very small persons will not have to die if you make yourselves heard, so now come on now, try!" The mayor grabbed a tom-tom, started to smack it, and all over Whoville they whooped up a racket. They rattled tin cans, they beat on brass pans, on garage pails and old cranberry cans. They blew on bazookas and blasted great toots on clarinets, oomphs, boombots, and flutes. Great gusts of loud racket rang higher through the air. They rattled and shook the whole sky. And the mayor called up through the hollering mad hullabaloo, "Hey, Horton, how's this? Is our sound coming through?" Poor Horton called back, "I hear you just fine, but the kangaroo's ears aren't quite as strong and keen as mine. They don't hear a thing. Are you sure all your boys are doing their best? Are they all making noise? Are you sure every who down in Whoville is working? Quick, look through the town. Is anybody shirking?" Through the town rushed the mayor, from east to west, but everyone seemed to be doing their best. Everyone seemed to be yapping and yipping. Everyone seemed to be beeping and bipping. But it wasn't enough. All this ruckus and roar. He had to find someone to help them make more. He raced through each building and searched floor to floor. And just as he felt like he was getting nowhere, and almost about to give up in despair, he suddenly burst through the door, and that mayor discovered one shirker, one hidden away in Fairfax Apartments, apartment 12J. A very small shirker named Jojo was just standing, bouncing a yo-yo, not making a sound, not making a yip, not making a chirp. And the mayor rushed inside and grabbed the young twerp. He climbed with the lad up the Eiffelberg Tower. "This," called the mayor, "this is our town's darkest hour. The time for all whose blood that is red to come to the aid of their country," he said. "You've got to make noises in greater amounts, so open up your mouth, lad. Every voice counts." Thus he spoke as he climbed, and when he got to the top, the lad cleared his throat and shouted aloud, "Yeah!" And that yop, that one extra yop, put it over. Finally, at last, from the speck of the clover, their voices were heard. They rang out clear and clean, and the elephant smiled. "Do you see what I mean? They've proved that there are persons, no matter how small, and their whole world was saved by the smallest of them all." "How true, yes, how true," said the big kangaroo. "And from now on, you know what I'm planning to do? From now on, I'm going to protect them with you." And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, "Me too! From sun in the summer and rain to fallish, I'm going to protect them no matter how smellish. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed Horton Hears a Who. I know I love this book, and I can't wait to be back at Kids Country to read to you in person. Bye!